Loot Beams is a small mod that allows us to visualize objects on the ground with a beam of light. When we get close enough, the color changes depending on the rarity of the object. When we place the pointer over it, the name and its classification will appear, be it common, uncommon, rare, and epic. It is information that can help you decide whether to pick up the object or let it disappear on the ground. That is not all the information, and if you use the shift we can view even more data about the object. In this case, a sword goes from common to rare due to the enchantment it has. Item rarity is set by vanilla and will likely work well with other mods. The Pots and Mimics mod enhances the adventure and exploration aspects of Minecraft by adding treasure with a random surprise. Break pots to get random materials and even enchanted books, but don't forget the danger. Some of them are homes for crabs which lay an ambush to eat an unfortunate adventurer. They range from minerals such as iron and coal to level 1 enchanted books. Vases are also found in the Nether with a darker color with better objects than those in the overworld and with another danger that will catch on fire. The objects range from ghost tears and netherite fragments to level 2 enchanted books. And why not find them in the end, which is purple and has a smaller list of treasures, but with more danger. The crab can cause slowness and cause greater damage. We have ender pearls, diamonds, and enchanted books up to level 3. Fallen Adventures is a mod that dramatically improves the exploration and adventure aspects of Minecraft by adding skeletons of fallen adventurers throughout the world. These corpses can leave you useful resources for exploration in the caves. For example, food, wood, iron, and torches are just some of the things they can leave you, which in certain situations can save you from being trapped in the cave. Although the highest concentration of skeletons will be in the caves, they can also be found on the surface or in the water, even inside ancient underground structures. The adventurers also encountered the Nether and were unfortunate enough to perish before being able to leave. The most diehards even managed to reach the dimension of the end. Each dimension can release different resources necessary for the situation you find yourself in, but be careful not to wake up the undead trapped inside. The Sea Dwellers mod adds strange fish-like merchants and underwater towns, but without straying too far from the style and balance of the original game. There are several types of creatures very similar to each other, but at the same time well differentiated, something like a division between the professions of the villagers but with the fish. On the seabed we will also find crystals that we can crush to obtain aquamarine. This can also be obtained by defeating drowned people. To exchange with them, all you have to do is right-click and the resource they are exchanging for you will appear. This is usually fish or the mineral aquamarine. These will give you bags in exchange that you can open to leave you various resources, mostly and obviously objects from the sea. The most important is the pink depth metamorph, since from its bag we can extract the second mineral called depth nugget. Both minerals can be joined to form the depth ingot in order to create a new set of armor and tools. With full armor you will get dolphin grace and underwater breathing, armor completely adapted to the seabed. The Imps and Demons mod adds a new faction of enemies known as demons with their weakest link from the overworld and concentrating all their power into the Nether. After all, the Nether is like hell, but to be that it requires demons, which are nowhere to be found in vanilla. This faction has different smaller and larger representatives, all equipped with swords and some with armor. The faction has taken over a large territory, so we can find them in large groups stalking their prey, the next adventurer who dares to get close enough. They do not release relevant objects. This is because, like the Warden, they seek to provide greater difficulty to the Nether, to feel that it is truly the most hostile dimension of all. Like every faction, it has its strongest links, the Demon Lord. Gigantic demons with a large amount of life, damage, immunity, recoil, fire, and wither, and they generate groups of enemies, turning them into ferocious enemies that can be found anywhere, but they are somewhat rare. They have a version with extremely high health and damage, Ancient Demon Lord, a variant with a bluish color with even more rarity than the previous one and from which you might need to run if you don't want to die. The latter can drop diamonds. being the item most valuable this faction can drop. It's the turn of more enemies to the overworld. From the shadows adds a few. Behemoth is a brutal monster that rarely appears in caves. They will use a very brutal attack to destroy you. The arsenal they have is very varied. They can defeat you from one moment to the next, so you must be careful when facing them, or failing that, have good protection. If you manage to kill them, they leave behind crystallized blood used to create their blood, which in turn is used for a new mineral called diabolium. Used for armor, a spear that allows you to cast lightning, and a sword that has the head of the behemoth on the handle. If you wear all 3 pieces of armor, you get a regeneration bonus when hitting enemies, in addition to almost giving you all the protections. The cleric are illagers who study strange magic and appear only in raids. They are optimized to spread pests and confuse the environment, and axe attacks are also very deadly. When eliminated, they release a cloth that is used to make a helmet with the property of clearing negative effects with a recharge time. The Buldrogiath is a giant crustacean-like monster which breeds primarily on beaches or swamps. They have a very hard bark and pressure the enemy with a very threatening attack. On the other hand, they are very slow. They shoot coral spines that inhibit health recovery if they are a certain distance apart. They drop their used shells to create a set of 3 pieces of armor that are enough to provide full protection. The frogling can often be found in the lush cave and eat smaller creatures in a single bite. They sometimes leave their legs behind when they die, which can be used to brew a jumping potion. Some magic with Ars Nouveau, a mod that extracts mana from the so-called world events, among which are the growth of crops and the death of mobs, with devices that will store the mana. New crafting systems using elements to create elemental essences. A table that allows us to visualize the available spells using essences and other materials. The spells work in a peculiar way, since you can make your own magic from the different spells that the mod has, which gives you the opportunity to create anything as long as you apply creativity to do it. Minecraft is a great example of this. It gives you the tools and you are in charge of using them to your advantage. This mod is responsible for giving you a very similar meaning. Spells are divided into forms of application, whether they are projectiles or effects that orbit around you, augmentations in charge of enhancing, and the effect, that is, what the augmented projectile can do. With these simple steps you can create some things like the following. A great complement to the previous mod would be Epic Knights and Mages, which adds new minerals with the same rarity as gold, which, taking advantage of the manufacturing systems, will allow us to access new armor equipment. The armor of a wizard and that of a magical warrior. Both armors have an amazing design, but of which I highlight the Magician's, one of the best armors I have seen in time brought by a mod. Probably my favorite armor of all I have ever seen, a simple design, but at the same time with its 3D design that stands out. The scarf that covers half the face and at the same time sticks out from the back is the best. The wand can hold a spell, allowing us to add a quick magic caster to the battle arsenal. But as I say, its main attraction is the armor with the same protections as netherite, but with an improvement in the amount of mana we can store to cast more spells. What we are missing are improvements for the character, for which we use passive skill tree, a tree of improvements that appears with the O key. The tree is immense, full of interconnected branches that will allow us to improve the capabilities of our character with RPG games already do it. To start, gather some experience to acquire your first skill point. Then select your class, but choose carefully, you can't change it. You can choose between Cook, Enchanter, Hunter, Alchemist, Miner, and Blacksmith, gaining benefits depending on what your class offers. In my case, by choosing Miner, we confirm my choice, and first we can see the statistics that we have obtained visually and how much with armor without having any armor. Once we obtain the class, to continue improving we will have to carry out the activity, in my case, obviously mining materials and blocks. Returning to the menu, we can see that it already allows me to obtain more skill points, this from having mined. We will have gems that will come from mining other minerals such as iron, coal, gold, and diamonds, but with a very low probability. The equipment will now have a new special slot, be it armor, weapon, or tool, and using a blacksmithing table we can put the gem inside. This will allow us to also improve the equipment. In this case, the gem gives us an extra heart on the chest. There are new objects such as rings or necklaces to which you can put gems, place them in special spaces, and also obtain even more improvements for the character, something essential in RPG mod packs. Finally, Medieval Origins Revival, a mod that adds the role-playing factor to the game, allowing us to choose from a series of races: Spider, Banshee, Incubus, Dwarf, Forest Elf, Fairy, Goblin, Gorgon, Moon Elf, Necromancer, Ogre, Little Goblin, Plague Victim, Mermaid, Troll, and Yeti, each with their racial characteristics, both advantages and disadvantages, which will allow us to make combinations with the previous mod, such as a mining elf or a hunter dwarf. I know that the professions they are usually the other way around, but you can do the combination with both mods. With this you can already have the most important features of an RPG, but of course you can add more. Tell me what else can be added to exploit the mechanics even more.